Now on Face the State, calls for the chairman of the Connecticut Republican Party to resign. Among those demanding the resignation of J.R. Romano, the most powerful Republican woman in Connecticut, Themis Claridis. We'll also ask the chairman what he plans to do. Also, keeping COVID out of the classrooms. Is Connecticut prepared? We'll ask Jeff Flax, President and CEO of Hartford Healthcare, and Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz. We'll also talk about Biden-Harris, the census, and the Connecticut economy. It's all straight ahead this Sunday, August 23rd, 2020.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning. I'm Dennis House. Thanks for joining us. There are calls for the chairman of the Connecticut Republican Party to resign. J.R. Romano is accused of knowing about assault allegations against a candidate, but not saying anything about it. Thomas Gilmer was running for Congress in the 2nd District, but dropped out on the eve of the election after it became known he had been arrested. Chairman Romano is here with us today. And Chairman Romano, thanks for being with us here today.
How you doing, Dennis?
I'm well, thank you. And I want to begin with, when did you first learn about these allegations against Thomas Gilmer?
So the day before the Republican convention, I have one candidate coming to me with allegations that I can't verify. There's no evidence that I can look at. I'm not a police officer. I have no idea whether these allegations are true or not. That would directly impact his opponent. And so in politics, oftentimes when you have two candidates, they will make allegations against each other. And so that is the first time that Justin Anderson, who was one of the candidates, had mentioned to me that there was these allegations under the stipulation that none of the victim didn't want to come forward, and she didn't want to go to the authorities. And that's basically the first time that I'd heard anything.
And there's said to be video of this, some video that would back this claim up. Did you see that video at all?
I did not. No. From my perspective, if there's evidence like that, it should be in the hands of the authorities and the police to vet out whether it's an allegation or whether it's in fact true. And in this case, once Mr. Anderson, several months later, finally did decide to turn it over to police through due process, the police felt it merited an arrest.
When Mr. Anderson told you this, did you believe that the woman, the victim in this case, was in danger?
Well, from my perspective, you have someone making an allegation. I have no way to corroborate the allegation at all. She did not want to go to the authorities and did not want to make any of this public. So it put me in a very difficult position. I don't know what's fact and what's not. So it was certainly not an easy situation.
Did the woman? Did you talk to the woman? Did she tell you she didn't want to?
No.
So Anderson.
No, this is coming third party through Justin Anderson, the opposing candidate.
Let me ask you this. Did you consider going to perhaps the party attorneys or an attorney within the party who could perhaps give you a more complete answer as to what to do?
Well, and for anyone that's seen public statements from someone like Len Fasano, Len completely agrees in how I handled it. When there's evidence like this, it needs to be brought to the proper authorities to vet out an allegation from moving it to an arrest.
So you told Len Fasano about this at the time?
No. If you've looked at Len Fasano's statements, and Len's an attorney, he basically says that I handled this the right way.
Did you talk to anyone about this at the time you first learned about it?
Basically, when you're dealing with a situation where you have one candidate making an allegation to another, it's a very, very difficult line to walk because you can't verify the facts, and so it was a very difficult decision in regards to you have a victim saying she doesn't want it to be public. And then and I'm hearing that third hand. This is sometimes when politics can be a very difficult business.
Did you ask Mr. Gilmer to step down at the time?
Mr. Gilmer flatly denied any of the allegations, claimed that his opponent was just mudslinging, saying that he's desperate to find delegates. Mr. Anderson didn't have enough support. I have to remind you, Dennis, this was the day before the convention when this first was brought to me. And Mr. Gilmer basically was claiming it was Mr. Anderson's October surprise, if you will.
Two Republican women, at least two, have called for you to resign. Themis Claridis, the House Minority Leader, perhaps the most powerful Republican woman in the state, says, quote, "The reports about this incident are egregious and anyone who had knowledge of them should have gone to the authorities." Jamie Stevenson, and again, these two women are possible candidates for governor in 2022 for the GOP. "I say no more. It's time we dismantle and rebuild the Connecticut Republican Party into an organization that truly values women." Do you believe that by remaining on the job, that it does send a message to women that perhaps these allegations aren't important?
Well, no, because at the end of the day, Dennis, if you look back at our history as myself as chairman, we have actually supported several women's organizations. We've worked with Sarah Muska as recently as several months ago, raising money for an organization that she works with. She's a state central member from the South Windsor area. We actually changed our phone number to end in 1920 because it's the year women got the right to vote. We have consistently, throughout my chairmanship, worked with organizations that help women in situations like this.
Who is the most prominent woman in the party right now to go out there in the state and defend you?
Well, look, see, this is the thing. I look at it from the perspective of, Jamie Stevenson and Themis Claridis certainly represent the Republican Party well, but we can disagree. And I think from the perspective that where I sit, we need to focus on 2020. We need to look at, how the Democrat policies are impacting families, how Connecticut's becoming unaffordable. And I think this too shall pass. Themis and I are going to continue to be friends, but we've disagreed on things before, and same with myself and Jamie Stevenson.
So when they continue, and I checked with them before our taping to see if they still wanted you to resign, if they changed their mind, they still would like you to resign. What do you say to them?
They're entitled to their opinion. This is America. This is what makes, we can certainly disagree. And I have, for example, Len Fasano has also, who's the leader in the Senate, has stood by my decision to implore Justin Anderson to have gone to the police to verify the allegations, which were unverifiable.
Looking back on it, is there anything you would have done differently knowing what you know today?
I think anytime I'm in a position and there's an allegation like that, advocating from the start to go to the proper authorities where the victim can be shielded by police protection. I'm not going to say that I should not have advocated going to the authorities. And Dennis, I offered Justin Anderson the phone number of a domestic violence organization to give the victim safe haven. And again, I never talked to the victim. So if these allegations were real and she felt that way, I had provided information for her to potentially speak to a domestic violence specialist, and I implored them to turn the evidence over to police.
Knowing what you know now, what's your gut? Do you believe Thomas Gilmer or do you believe the victim?
This is a country in due process, and it's going to be worked through the court system, and the result's going to be the result. I mean, that's ultimately why we have the system we have, and the judge and jury will make a decision on that, unless Mr. Gilmer pleads. But it's in the hands of the authorities now, where it should have been from the start.
So you have no opinion?
Well, Dennis, I haven't seen the video. I have no idea. And again, it's in the hands of the authorities, where it should have been from the start.
J.R. Romano, the chairman of the Republican Party, we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
In a moment,